Good afternoon, everyone. I just think flash mobs are the best, don't you think? You just get a note, come to a party, and look who shows up. It's fabulous. Thank you for joining me today for this wonderful occasion for the Divinity School and for Harvard. I'm really delighted to see so many of you were able to come on such short notice for such an important moment. Before I introduce this new dean that we're here to celebrate, I want to say a few words about Bill Graham and express my gratitude to him for his leadership for the past decade. Bill, where are you, Bill? There you are. Bill, you have, during your time here, helped to make the Divinity School a place for real engagement on global religious issues, whose importance at the beginning of the 21st century is without question. Your commitment to financial aid has been extraordinary and has brought many talented students into our midst, and I'm sure many of them are here in this room appreciating what you've done in that area today. You've transformed the shape of the faculty, and you've been a trusted and dedicated leader in the Council of Deans, as we have, you and I, been on that Council of Deans for quite a number of years together. So I just want to thank you for all this and for so much more, Bill. We really appreciate it, and you will be remembered and honored and thought of often in the years and decades and centuries to come. Let's thank Bill Graham. And we'll have some time to celebrate Bill later in the spring. I also want to thank the 13 faculty members from the Divinity School and the Faculty of Arts and Sciences who served as an advisory group to me on the search. You worked hard, you gave me great advice, and I so appreciate your thoughtful counsel throughout the process. And I want to thank the staff in my own office, Clayton Spencer's, Stephanie Gumbel, and also in the Divinity School, especially Pat Byrne, who've helped with the planning of today's celebration and throughout. Religion has always been an important part of Harvard. The college itself was established to perpetuate a learned ministry. And the oldest professorship at the university, as we know because the cow won't let us forget it, is the Hollis Professor of Divinity, established in 1721. I was just remembering the cow as I walked over here today. Although half a century ago, many in universities predicted that religion would be overtaken by processes of secularization, they could not have been more wrong. Religion is a force that profoundly shapes individuals and societies, now as in the past. The study of religion, whether academically or for a life of practice, has never been more important, and nor has the role of the Harvard Divinity School. This year we've been having a kind of year of religion at Harvard, or at least my year feels a bit that way. And it underscores the point I just made about the centrality of these issues to who we are as a university and who we must be in the world of the 21st century. I believe we have the opportunity to do still more to build on Harvard's remarkable existing strengths in this area. As you know, while completing this dean search, we've also been searching for the next Pusey Minister of Memorial Church and Plummer Professor of Christian Morals. And we've also convened an outside committee of scholars to examine the study of religion at Harvard and to help us see how to bring greater strength and coherence to our programs here at HDS, but also with FAS and beyond. I expect that we will have more news to share on both of those efforts before the end of this academic year. And I greatly appreciate your patience and your participation in moving these processes forward. So now to the real business at hand. It's a wonderful tradition at Harvard, I think, that the president comes to introduce the new dean to the faculty of the school in which she or he is being appointed. And of course, an introduction is not actually called for today because it is someone you know so well. But I am very grateful to have the opportunity to say a bit about the person who is to become the dean of the Harvard Divinity School, because I have been so impressed as I have gotten to know him better over the past several months. An exceptional scholar and teacher, David Hempton. As you know, David is the Alonzo L. McDonald Family Professor of Evangelical Theological Studies at the Divinity School. We only convinced him to come here about 5 years ago, but in this short time, he has proved to be a dynamic and invaluable member of the Divinity School and the university community. A distinguished and prize-winning historian of religion, David writes prolifically on religion and political culture and identity. Just this past Monday, the Harvard Divinity School community convened to discuss his latest book, The Church in the Long 18th Century, a book that overturns current understanding by situating Christianity in a global context, in an era long before most scholars had thought of it in this way. David is also a great teacher, and in 2008 was named Outstanding Teacher of the Year at the Divinity School. He was similarly honored during his time at Boston University. And he has long served as a deeply respected academic leader, as director of the School of History at Queen's University Belfast, as chair of the Wiles Trust, and in a variety of roles here at HDS. I've come to know David this past year as I've sought his counsel on a range of issues. He's a careful listener with an incisive intellect and a wonderful sense of humor. Just a couple of days ago in a committee meeting, he brought all work to a complete halt as everyone burst into laughter over a little wry remark he had passed in the middle of the meeting. So he's also a person who brings joy in our midst as well. I've been told by many of you of his sterling qualities. He is a revered colleague, a stellar colleague, and I'm quoting now, a superb teacher, an outstanding scholar who will not stand for substandard work. And I've also been struck, indeed moved, by my conversations with David about how he got interested in the study and the power of religion. Growing up in Northern Ireland, he found himself stunned by the eruption of the Troubles, and he has devoted himself ever since to understanding the nature of religion and religious conflict. This is a man whose intellectual commitments are deep-rooted in his lived experience. He will be a great leader for Harvard Divinity School, and we all offer him our support and best wishes. Join me in welcoming Dean David Hempton.
Thanks. Thank you so much, President Faust, for that really wonderful introduction. And it is, of course, a great honor to be asked to lead the Divinity School, Harvard's second oldest professional school, founded almost 200 years ago, soon to have its 200th birthday. I've had many good wishes sent to me today, about 100 email messages before I left my desk. 98 of them had one thing in common, which is, I think, really significant, and that is the people who sent them wanted a free parking space in Cambridge. And on the 1st of July, that will be my first request from the President. I do have a wonderful blackmail photograph of the President tethering a cow in out there, which I think is against the Cambridge bylaws, so I expect to get these parking spaces. I do want to thank Bill Graham for a decade of really remarkable leadership, which has made this transition, I think, a joyful day for us. I think it's very unusual for someone to leave office with a sense of gratitude and joy in the way that it's been expressed today, as well as coming in. So it feels like that's been a great transition. I also want to thank our distinguished visitors and guests who are with us over these days, from the Alum Council, the Dean's Council, the Leadership Council, who partner with us so faithfully and sacrificially. We deeply appreciate what you do for us and for our students especially. Thank you for your support, and please keep going. I'm also want to thank my family. Luann and my two boys are here today. It's wonderful to have them, our little support team. Yesterday I got some photographs taken in Faculty Hall and University Hall, and some of you can see this on the web, and there I am with these oil paintings and busts of famous Americans all around it. And my son immediately sent me one of those wonderful family text messages saying, "Hey Dad, congratulations. Are they going to hang you up or make you into a bust?" So I want to just say, I know you've had a lot of things said to you today. I just want to say three very brief things around three concentric circles: the Divinity School, the wider university, and the wider world. And this will be brief. The Divinity School. I'm not normally a fan of mission statements, which often set high standards of sheer banality. But we have an unusually good one. And it goes like this: drawing on its historical strength in Christian studies and its significant resources in global religious studies, Harvard Divinity School educates scholars, teachers, ministers, and other professionals for leadership and service, both nationally and internationally. To help in building a world in which people can live and work together across religious and cultural divides, we strive to be a primary resource in religious and theological studies for the academy, for religious communities, and in the public sphere. Now, I love these six, what we scholars might call dialectical pairs of ideas: historic roots in Christian studies, but also growing expertise in world religions; educating for leadership, but also for service; aspiring to both national and international influence; bringing together religious and theological studies; serving the academy, but also religious communities in the wider world; and finally, building bridges across religious and cultural divides. To accomplish this, we have already a remarkably talented community of students, staff, and faculty. But there's scope, I think, even for us to build stronger intellectual culture and an even greater commitment to engage with the big religious questions of our time. The university, secondly. HDS already has terrific master's and doctoral programs, and we contribute a large number of courses on religion to the undergraduate program. But we also know that given Harvard's extraordinary resources, we can build an even stronger undergraduate program in religion. We all need to put our minds to this in the years ahead. We also know that we need to relate more closely with other schools throughout the university. For good and ill, religion connects with and informs so many other aspects of world civilization, and we have expertise to bring to these issues. Finally, the wider world. I want to leave you with three linked challenges to think about today. My colleague at Boston University, also a university professor there, Peter Berger, perhaps America's most distinguished sociologist of religion, has stated recently that secularization, far from being an inexorable product of modernity throughout the world, is more or less confined to Western and Central Europe and to what he calls an international cultural elite. In the rest of the world, vibrant religious cultures are the default position, not the exception. Now, I see this gap between secularized cultural elites and global religious traditions as potentially one of the most dangerous things in our world. The consequences need to be thought about, especially since research universities like ours recruit most of our faculty and students from Berger's secularized minorities. We need to know about this gap, how it works, and what are its consequences. Secondly, in a recent book, Stephen Prolero has stated that the United States is one of the most religious places on earth, but is also a nation of shocking religious illiteracy, even among college students. He's staggered at how many people fail his own tests, even in the religious studies department at BU. We've got real work to do here. We've already paid a heavy price for this ignorance, and we dare not let it go unattended. We have serious work to do at Harvard and beyond to improve religious literacy in this country and in the wider world, and Bill's already spoken very movingly about this earlier today. Finally, and this is something that President Faust alluded to at the end of her remarks, I have a flashback in my mind to Northern Ireland in 1969-1970. That was the year I went up to Queen's University Belfast as a young undergraduate. I was a typical child of the 60s, more interested in sport, music, and girls than in understanding the religious and political dynamics of my own culture. All hell broke loose in Northern Ireland in those years, with hundreds of people a year dying in violent incidents in the early 1970s, and the university was right at the center of this. Like Stephen Prothero, religious illiterates, I really didn't know what was going on. I should have. And I vowed that I would find out. And in a way, that's why I'm standing here today. Religious illiteracy matters. It costs. We ignore it at our peril. Let's take it on and make a difference to that. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.